Before the rivalry, before the subtle jabs, before the diss tracks that rocked the music scene, Drake and Kendrick Lamar could have had a very different narrative. One of guidance instead of chaos. One of teamwork rather than rivalry. If circumstances had been different, Kendrick might have been repping OVO instead of TD. Sounds wild, right? But it's true. Drake recognized Kendrick's potential early on. Long before Kendrick became a Pulitzer Prize-winning artist, he was just another ambitious rapper from Compton trying to make a name for himself. And Aubrey Drake Graham was one of the first to see that potential. Hello everyone, welcome to Celebrity Cookies. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment your thoughts about the video. I hope to see you in our next cookies. So here's what actually happened. In the early 2010s, Drake was skyrocketing to fame. So Far Gone had turned him into a star. Thank Me Later was expanding his influence, and everyone in the industry was buzzing about the kid from Toronto. While enjoying his success, Drake was also keeping an eye on the underground scene. He wasn't just a rapper, he was a curator and a tastemaker. He had his sights set on a particular rising talent, Kendrick Lamar. At that time, Kendrick was just starting to gain traction with projects like Overly Dedicated and his connection to Top Dawg Entertainment. His talent was clear, and his lyrics were impactful. Drake recognized that he was looking at someone who could elevate the culture, someone unique. So what did he do? He invited Kendrick to open for him on the Club Paradise tour, a significant endorsement. Drake essentially told everyone, keep an eye on this guy. He's the next big thing. He even featured Kendrick on Take Care with the introspective track, Buried a Live Interlude, which was more than just a collaboration. It was a significant moment. It was Kendrick's coded message about fame, fear, and the surreal journey he was beginning. But that wasn't the end of it. Behind the scenes, there were rumors, whispers, really, that Drake was considering doing more than just supporting Kendrick. He wanted to sign him. Yes, OVO x Kendrick Lamar was nearly a reality. The concept was straightforward. Drake recognized that Kendrick was on the verge of greatness, and he wanted to be the one to help him rise. Not just as a fellow artist, but as a mentor, an executive, a gatekeeper. This was about more than just rap. It was about building a legacy. Drake was already thinking ahead, and Kendrick was the gem he wanted to add to his collection. But there was a hurdle. In fact, 3 letters stood in the way, TD. Top Dawg Entertainment was more than just Kendrick's label, it was his family. From the very beginning, Anthony, Top Dawg, Tiffith had been a mentor to Kendrick. Their goal wasn't merely to make money, they were creating something much larger, a movement, a legacy. So when Drake's team suggested bringing Kendrick into the OVO family, Top Dawg rejected the idea. From TD's viewpoint, why would Kendrick need to join Drake's camp when they were already establishing their own empire? It was about more than just music. It was about maintaining control, ownership, and ensuring their artists remained their artists. As for Kendrick, he remained loyal. He declined the unspoken offer, politely but decisively. No OVO deal, no collaborations, just gratitude and distance. That's when everything shifted. What began as admiration gradually turned into tension. Drake, who had reached out in goodwill, found himself isolated. Kendrick, whom he had tried to uplift, was now rapidly ascending on his own. As Kendrick's name grew louder, the relationship changed. He was no longer just Drake's protege, he had become competition, a rival, perhaps even a threat. By the time Good Kid, Mad City was released in 2012, Kendrick had transformed from an emerging artist into a powerful voice. His loyalty to TD began to look like the best decision he could have made. Poetic Justice, featuring Drake, was a hit, but it also served as a reminder of what might have been: 2 kings sharing a throne, or one king inviting another to his castle, only to see the guest build his own empire next door. It gets even more intricate. Drake's admiration for Kendrick didn't vanish overnight, but it became complicated, especially as Kendrick honed his lyrical skills and assertiveness. By the time Control was released in 2013, Kendrick was no longer subtle. He was openly challenging his peers, and Drake was caught in the crossfire, even if Kendrick didn't mention him by name. Behind the scenes, the industry sensed the change. Those close to both artists were aware of the tension. Drake felt blindsided and betrayed. How could the artist he had supported turn around and confront him like this, especially after all Drake had done for him? The reality is that Drake has a long memory when it comes to loyalty and disloyalty. From that point on, their relationship was over. No more collaborations, no more mentions, just veiled insults, passive-aggressive interviews, and years of silence. Kendrick became the anti-Drake, while Drake turned into the star that Kendrick couldn't stop referencing. Let's be honest, it hurt. Drake recognized Kendrick's potential before anyone else. He attempted to sign him, support his rise, and lend a helping hand. In return, he received diss tracks, cold treatment, and bars aimed at him, all because Kendrick opted for Top Dog over OVO. But here's an interesting thought. What if Kendrick had decided to sign with Drake? Would there even be this rivalry? Would we still be discussing tracks like Control and The Heart Part 5? Or would we be witnessing Drake and Kendrick collaborating on albums and ruling the charts together? Perhaps, but perhaps not. Kendrick was never going to settle for being second best. Under Drake's influence, he might have always been perceived as the artist Drake brought to fame, not as his own individual, not the voice of Compton, just another member of the OVO roster. And Kendrick couldn't accept that. He needed to forge his own path, even if it meant severing ties. Now, years later, the tension between Drake and Kendrick Lamar continues to simmer, boil, and erupt. It all began with a missed chance, a moment that could have changed everything. Drake tried to bring Kendrick on board, but Kendrick chose his own independence instead. And that decision, it altered everything. Now, whenever they take jabs at each other, it's more than just rap, it's personal. It's about their history and legacy. But this is just the beginning. If you're eager for the next installment, hit that subscribe button, because this story is far from finished. The battle for hip-hop's throne is intensifying, and it all began with a handshake that never took place.